Time for us to turn our attention to the Irish footballers who need a big summer. It's been one of those years where there hasn't been a big year from many Irish footballers, particularly those who were attached to Premier League teams. And we were doing this list over the last few days, and it was like, they're still at that Premier League club even though they haven't played for them, or they're currently on loan somewhere else. You've been doing a lot of work on this, Owen, and this is not a very pretty list for Stephen Kenny at the moment.
Not when it comes to the senior players. So this morning anyway, we might try and do this over the course of the next few days, is to go through some of the players who are going to be in and around Stephen Kenny's squad over the next few years. There's a lot of young players, a lot of players who've come through the academy, who are playing under 23s football around the Premier League, that the future looks really bright on. We'll get to that another day. This is about the stalwarts of Irish football, or those that have been stalwarts of Irish football for the last 5 years or more. And one place you wanted to start is at Everton and at Seamus Coleman's door. The contract for life that Carlo Ancelotti has spoken about with regard to Seamus Coleman. I did not have this guy on the list as a man who had an important summer. I'm not going to lie.
Show me the money. That's all I'm saying, Carlo. Show me the money. So we were talking about this on the show yesterday. Who was the man of the match and blah, 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 Calvert-Lewin or whoever. And Ancelotti comes out and goes, no, man of the match was Seamus Coleman, right? Coleman has been excellent when he's been fit this year. And look, he's at that stage of his career where it's very unlikely he's going to move at this point. Many people would say, why would you bother moving? But if you think back to some of those great careers that weren't in the end one-club careers, where at the end of it, somebody had a year or two, like a Frank Lampard, for example, who was a one-club man. Essentially, that's what people think about, and then they forget about the fact that he goes to City for a season, then he goes to New York for a while. Maybe Seamus Coleman thinks down the line, actually, it will be no harm for me to have other experiences of other clubs if I'm going to go into club management, because I don't know, maybe coaching and management is not part of his future. Maybe the family move back to Donegal and they just have the time of their lives, and he becomes involved in the Gaelic football team in Killybegs or the Donegal inter-county setup. Who knows what the future holds for Seamus Coleman? I hope it is centrally involved in running Irish sport. But if Everton are going to actually give him all the money that he deserves, then why not play a season for somebody else? And if you're one of those top teams, Coleman's performances at right back, at right wing back, as the third man in a three-man defence, would suggest that he could legitimately hold his own or play a role for almost any team in the Premier League. Would Man United not be happy having him as the third man in a trio of central defenders, suddenly adding a little bit of pace to the slow coaches beside him, or as the right wing back, or as somebody to teach Arwan Bissaka, this is how you're supposed to play, right? So Bissaka plays 70% of the games, Coleman plays the other 30%, but suddenly there's strength and depth. And in the big European games, you're like, come on now, Seamus, come on.
That would make sense from Manchester United's perspective for him to play 30% of the games, because I think that's probably all he would get. He's not getting ahead of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's had a really good season, and he's getting better when it comes to the offensive part of his game. Everton are in 8th at the moment, so you're looking at teams above them in the Premier League if you're Seamus Coleman. You're looking at teams above them that he can actually get meaningful minutes for. Like, I mean,
but meaningful minutes, like if you think about that, everybody changes. So, like, you know, Chelsea have played Reece James a lot, but not every game.
No.
They've played Cesar Azpilicueta a lot, but like, so yeah. Put him in that Cesar Azpilicueta role, for example. Plays a lot of football.
Yeah, like I mean, but so then he's contending with Cesar Azpilicueta, Reece James.
He's not going to. He's not going to go to Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
But you could put him in the team for that. Like,
but my point is that you have to be looking at, if you're actually making a case for Seamus Coleman to leave
free
Everton,
transfer, essentially, right?
Yeah, then you have to be looking at clubs like, there's only a certain amount of them. Like West Ham maybe is the weakest club above Everton in the Premier League right now, and I mean, they've got right back nailed down this season. Like, I just...
Seamus Coleman would be brilliant at Man City. Seamus Coleman would be brilliant at Manchester United.
But Seamus Coleman is not going to go and not play for next season. But like, we're talking about this summer.
He doesn't have to play every minute. That's the thing.
I know, but do you actually think that he is the type of player who's...
Could he play 15 games? Could he play 15 games for City or 15 games for Manchester United in big games next season? Yes, he could.
But is he going to be happy with that?
Well, I mean, it's a completely different period to your career where you all of a sudden are experiencing what life is like at a super club, so that in the future, when it comes to them making coaching decisions or staff decisions, you're like, I have experience of this, I have seen this, I have worked with the best players in the world. I just think that there's like there's the immediate short term where we have a qualifying campaign coming up, and Seamus Coleman is going to be like one of our most important players, because he's still going to be one of our best players for the next 3 or 4 years, it looks like at this stage, right? And he's got the rest of his career and his life to think about after that. And staying at Everton is a really brilliant thing to do. To be a one-club player in the Premier League, obviously he played for Sligo, but that's like a hugely unusual, and the loyalty that he'll have there and the club legend status that he'll have there, I don't think that's going to be damaged if Coleman leaves. And I just think that it would be brilliant for him to explore playing anywhere else in the Premier League, really, with any of those good teams. Or if he plays with a bad team, like with a coaching role associated with it, then that would be interesting. Like, could he improve any of the other teams in that top half? What would happen if he moved to Leeds, for example, and played under Bielsa and experienced what that culture was like? I just think, like...
Yeah, like he improves every team he goes to, because he becomes a squad player, and he becomes maybe not your starting right back in a lot of cases, or as you say, like right midfielder / right wing back, whatever the position might be. He definitely improves every squad he goes into, just on a depth level. Like, he is working with Carlo Ancelotti right now. He is working with some unbelievably talented players in that Everton squad. He is still, I'd say he's getting great fulfillment from this season. I just think that if you're picking one Premier League player who's Irish at the moment, who isn't likely to leave at all this summer, and it makes no sense for him to leave, it is Seamus Coleman. I think Everton have had a really good season.
Pay him his money then. Show him the love and show him the respect that he deserves, instead of saying he's got a contract for life. Give him the money.
Well, okay, that's where you get into the real point here, that if Everton feel that this is now a situation where you're going to get diminishing returns from Seamus Coleman, and that they don't actually cough up the money, or they don't cough up a long enough contract, like, could Everton turn around to him and say, here's a 1-year deal? Maybe not. Like, they'll surely give him 2 years at least, and maybe there's just not enough money on the line. Then maybe Coleman's not happy. That's where the situation changes. But what we know is that he is working under a manager who has won the Champions League, one of the best managers of the last 20 years. Well, let's start one of the most successful managers of the last 20 years.
Come on, we all watch what happened in
some great players.
Istanbul.
Some great young players. He's got a leadership role in that club. He's got an absolute avenue into the coaching staff in that club if he hangs around until he finishes. But I just think that from his own perspective and what actually happens next season for him, there just isn't a situation that would be better than Everton for him right now. Like, in a weird way, the one big club who might go to and actually succeed at is Tottenham. He might go ahead of Matt Doherty in the Tottenham pecking order. He might go right ahead of Serge Aurier in the Tottenham pecking order. Tottenham signed Matt Doherty to be their fix at right back, and it has not worked. So Tottenham still need a fix at right back unless Aurier finds more consistency next season. So that's weirdly the only situation you could find, but that is very much in the realms of Football Manager, I think, to see Seamus Coleman going to Spurs.
Give us your views. 087 180 180 is the WhatsApp number. It's 7:51 this morning. OTB AM is live in association with Gillette. Good morning. Start with Gillette. Give me the confidence to tackle the day ahead. Peter G says, I take Coleman at Arsenal. Joe on WhatsApp says, Coleman missed his chance to move. Should have left Everton 4 or 5 years ago and gone to Manchester United. He'd have become club captain in no time and sorted out that dressing room. I mean, if Moyes had signed Coleman, would life have been different? Would Moyes still be the manager? Would it have completely changed? It might have. Right, very quickly, who else do you want to do here?
So next up, let's just we'll go through the Brighton contingent. I know we're kind of tied for time, but there's only so much we can say about these streaks. I think everybody knows that it's a big summer for Aaron Connolly, it is a big summer for Jason Maloney, and it is, of course, a big summer for Shane Duffy. We might start with Shane Duffy. Back with Brighton, cut his loan move at Celtic short, obviously, got injured. He's got 2 more years left in his deal. Graham Potter obviously had dropped him before he left for Celtic. Like, the precipitous decline of Shane Duffy is not confined within the walls of Parkhead. It certainly seemed to be happening at the Amex before he left. Everybody thought it was a blip, and then he could have found himself again at Celtic. It has not happened. Now, the thing is, was Celtic just too big a club almost? And that's not to diminish Shane Duffy's talents or what he's shown down through the years, but just almost the expectation that is on a defender like him, the way that they play, the way they're expected to win every game, that you just wonder if somewhere else lower down the Premier League would have been a better move for him. Now, it would have just been hard to see what team he would have got into, except for maybe the clubs that got promoted into the Premier League last season. So as a result, you're thinking to yourself that Shane Duffy maybe needs to drop down a division to actually get his game time, and I think that's probably what might happen. Is he going to sit on the bench for next season? It depends what Brighton do in the off-season, but it's another year in the Premier League. It's another year where they've settled into this division, and I don't think they're going to revert to Shane Duffy as a starter. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch over the course of this summer. Just to mention the other two then, Jason Maloney, obviously, who we've been a big fan of on this show for the last little while. Hasn't been a great season for him. Like, he's been left more on the bench as the season's gone on in his loan move. Obviously, we were speaking to him during his Millwall loan last year, which was going really well. With Preston North End this year, it just hasn't gone as well. Like, it's hard to see him getting much game time at Brighton in the near future. Again, as I say, Brighton may look to strengthen. However, there's a good chance they'll lose Yves Bissouma this summer, who everybody wants. Like, he is one of the hottest young midfielders. That will be spoken about on Sky Sports News every single day this summer. So maybe a hole actually opens up in the midfield, and as a result, Jason Maloney gets more bench time and gets more game time off the bench. But he's kind of stagnated this season, Jason Maloney. So it's another big year for him. And then we get to Aaron Connolly, who scored 2 goals this season, hasn't played a lot of football. He is back in the squad. He came on against Sheffield United a few weeks ago. He hasn't been used since then. We were obviously at Graham Potter's press conference virtually a couple of weeks ago, and his theme around Aaron Connolly is that he is quite often very hard on himself off the pitch, and it is trying to find that winning mentality and that mentality to fight for his place off the pitch, which is required before he actually gets more minutes and before he starts scoring goals again. Like, this year, Brighton did strengthen in that area. They brought Danny Welbeck in. It was only a 1-year deal, so he could be gone at the end of this year. And Aaron Connolly went down the pecking order 1 spot. So does Welbeck leave? Does he go back up 1 spot? Again, I'm not sure. I think that Brighton probably see that they need to strengthen in that department. He's 21 years of age at this point. The question I would ask is, could he score 15 goals in a championship season? And I think he probably could. I think that, again, he's in a similar situation to Shane Duffy and to Jason Maloney, that a championship loan move may actually be the best avenue for him next season. So in a strange way, the 3 main Irish players that we've been keeping an eye on at Brighton and Hove Albion over the last few seasons are all in a similar place this summer. Yeah, not a great scenario for Stephen Kenny. We'll do more of these a little bit later on, and we'll run through the rest of them for the rest of the week. If you've got any of the particular situations you'd like us to talk about, 0879 180 180 is the WhatsApp number. Jared's office rocker and Coleman, there's no sense in leaving Everton, says Timmy. Thanks, Timmy. Sometimes you've got to be off your rocker to see the truth that's staring you right in front of the face. I just think there's a chance to make a lot of money for one of the good teams if he had Mino Raiola in charge of his career at this point, he'd get a move to one of those teams, and when he gets there, he'd get in the team, I think, and he'd play loads. Seamus Coleman would not appoint Mino Raiola as his agent. Like, have you heard him speak? This is the most no-nonsense man. He doesn't do Mino Raiola. He doesn't do nonsense. The commentary said Arsenal would absolutely take Seamus Coleman, no questions asked. Big clubs we're looking for. But Coleman would not go to. We're obviously looking for a big club.